what you
What
see,
are these here?
These are just simply referred to as dry beans, right? Dry cocoa beans. The whole journey starts if you take the pods off the tree, you crack the pods, and you take the beans out, which at that stage they are wet because they haven't been dried. Those beans go into a fermentation box, which is usually made traditionally locally out of cedar. And you would try to fill the box completely, let's say somewhere in the vicinity of 100 to 150 kilos of beans in there. It will be covered with banana leaves and jute bags to isolate and retain the heat in the box, because fermentation would lead to the generation of heat. So when you open during the fermentation process the box, let's say on day 3 or 4, the box and the beans in there would be hot like an oven almost. You can feel it when you put your hands on it. That usually takes about a week, and then after that week you would take the beans out and you put them on the drying floor. So traditional sun drying does not use any artificial drying, so there are no fans running or there's no fire under the drying house. It's just entirely relying on the sun. So you spread the beans out on the drying deck, and it takes another week, depending on the weather, to dry them, so that the moisture inside of the bean is below roughly 7.5%. You have a moisture meter by which you can measure that, and so when you reach that point, you know they're ready to be bagged, and they will look something like this, right? So when the beans are dry, you take them to your workshop or your factory, and then the process of chocolate making really begins, because you first need to roast them. After the roasting, you need to crack them so that you can separate the shells or the husk from the nibs. The nibs is really the raw chocolate. The nibs you then take, you pre-grind the nibs into a powder. Then I would take the powder and I feed it into a whetstone grinder, and you would run it, depending on what sort of chocolate product you're making, your chocolate bar or drinking chocolate, anywhere between 15 and 30 hours. If you have a bigger operation, a lot of the chocolate bar chocolate will be processed in that sort of a grinder over even 3 days, 72 hours or more. And then you arrive at something that's called chocolate liqueur. It's sort of a paste which needs to be molded if you want a chocolate bar, and to bring it out in sort of the traditional form and shape of a chocolate bar, you have molds for that, and this paste will be sort of molded through these polyethylene molds. So you fill it in there, you put it in the fridge or in the chiller, you wait for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and it hardens, and you just flip it, and out comes the bar. So that is that is essentially the process. There's also an element which is called tempering. In fact, before you mold it, you need to make sure that the crystal structure inside of the chocolate is aligned in a particular way. If it's not aligned and you take the bar out 2-3 days later or a week later, the structure of the chocolate bar disintegrates. It doesn't look pretty anymore. To make it look pretty and to keep it in its shape, you need to do tempering, which can be done either by hand or via a machine. So it's a very long process with 4 or 5 different steps in between until you get actually to the chocolate product that you sell.
Okay, thank you.